introverted, can't make friends. Pray for better days, now it's 300K when my day ends. Do you remember last night, cause I blacked out? In that all-white dress with her back out. Said be careful with her heart, cause it's fragile. And thinking about her past, make her lash out. See with me, it ain't no worries at all. Any problem, I'll be there in one call. If we locked in, you my dog. Finna you hang pictures on my wall. Roll one, let's get high tonight. Backseat, Maybach, lavish life. Chilling with the stars like a satellite. AP on my arm and it's shining bright.
Living in the haze, staying in the shade. All I do is sit around and wait for better days. I could use a
wish I kept an eye on you closer. I thought we were getting somewhere lately. I see that you don't seem to get anymore. Never ends, running in circles. Never ends, circles. Never ends, running in circles. Never ends, circles.
Oh, you see the flames of burning passion when I look in your eyes. Yes, yes, yes. Are you afraid to feel what you know is real, like any other guy? I'm playing on the flames of burning passion when I look in your eyes. Yes, yes, yes. Are you afraid to feel what you know is real, like any other guy? I see the flames of burning passion when I look in your eyes. Yes, yes, yes. Are you afraid to feel what you know is real, like any other guy? I'm playing on the heart, but can't you love me? You got to come on inside. My heart's an open door. Who could ask for more? Come on in for a ride. Can't stop what I'm doing to you. Can't stop turning you on. Oh, you see the flames of burning passion when I look in your eyes. Yes, yes, yes. Are you afraid to feel what you know is real, like any other guy? I'm playing on the heart, but can't you love me? You got to come on inside. My heart's an open door. Who could ask for more? Come on in for a ride. Can't stop what I'm doing to you. Can't stop turning you on. Can't stop what I'm doing to you. Can't stop turning you
Thank you, everybody, for being here today. It is really fantastic to be here in Worcester. We know, because we're out talking to them every day, that the people of Worcester are desperate for change. And this election is the chance to turn the page on 14 years of chaos and see that change come. I am so glad to be able to introduce you to our shadow, hopefully not much longer, Secretary of State for Health, Wes Streeting. Please welcome him. Wes, as you've seen this morning, you couldn't have come to a better place than Worcester to kick off your work to renew our NHS and make it fit for the future. You're so welcome here, and it's my absolute pleasure to hand over to you.
Thank you very much, Tom. It's great to be here with all of you today, because we know that the road to change, the road to a Labour government, runs right here through Worcester and so many other general election battlegrounds where voters will choose whether to turn the page on 14 years of Conservative failure by voting for change with a Change Labour Party, or whether to hand the matches back to the arsonist to finish the job. And the choice really is that stark. Look at the way this Conservative election campaign has begun. Billions of pounds of unfunded tax cuts, once again putting the finances of the nation and the finances of every family at risk. The big idea, a teenage dad's army, while 7.5 million people are waiting on NHS waiting lists and kids are being taught maths by a teacher not qualified in the subject. And finally, there's the optics of the Prime Minister himself, a man who's got a plan so serious that he didn't think ahead to bring an umbrella and apparently now thinks that umbrellas are unserious. And look, we might laugh, but this clown show is not funny. And the damage they've done to our country is serious. And we've got to bring it to an end. And that's what this general election is about. A generational chance to deliver real change from a changed Labour Party, offering a decade of national renewal our country needs. And it starts with 6 first steps, practical steps to deliver the change our country needs. And to make sure that Keir doesn't sack me, I have brought the 6 first steps here, which you can take to the doorstep. You know, the great thing about this is it's double-sided. So it's Wes-proof, and I can tell you that as well as delivering economic stability, the bedrock of every good government and the bedrock of a great nation, we are going to launch our new Border Security Command. We're going to switch on Great British Energy. We're going to recruit 6,500 more teachers. We're going to crack down on antisocial behaviour with 13,000 more police officers on our streets. And that brings me finally to what we've been talking about today, the 40,000 extra NHS appointments, 40,000 a week, 40,000 a week. Because if there is one legacy that should shame this Prime Minister, it's the sight of 7.5 million people languishing on NHS waiting lists in pain and agony as a direct result of the chaos and mismanagement in 10 Downing Street. And our plan, those 40,000 extra appointments a week through extra evening and weekend working, will make a real difference to get that backlog down, doubling the number of scanners so we diagnose earlier, treat faster, work in partnership with the independent sector to use spare capacity. All these things mean that we can confidently say to our country today that a Labour government will make sure we get waiting times down to 18 weeks within one term, 5 years of a Labour government. What a transformation that would be. So change is on the ballot paper at this general election. The NHS is on the ballot paper at this general election. And the hope of a better, brighter future is on the ballot paper at this general election. So don't wake up to the nightmare of another Conservative term on Downing Street. Don't wake up to that nightmare. Make sure you choose change. And I'm very proud to introduce someone who I think represents the future of the NHS far more than I do, actually. Rachel King is a student midwife. She's chosen to dedicate her working career to the future of our NHS. And my God, Rachel, you are desperately needed given the state of midwifery. Thank you so much for being here, and over to you.
Thank you, Wes. I'm really proud to be here today. Wes and Keir were just at my university, the University of Worcester, talking to healthcare students, and I was very impressed. I was very impressed with their passion for the NHS, and I was very impressed with their in-depth knowledge of the workings of the NHS, and I feel really confident and happy and really, really excited about change. I'm very proud to be here, like I said, and I would now like to introduce you to someone, Stephen Tyrrell, a Royal Air Force veteran.
Thank you for that. I'm too very, very proud to be here. I'm really sick of the promises that have been made to me as a veteran. I joined the Air Force in 1976 as a boy entrant, and through no fault of my own and through an incident in the Royal Air Force, I was put in a wheelchair and I received a spinal injury. I was promised at that point, I'd already signed up for 22 years. My father had done 22 years in the Air Force, so we was a military background, and we was promised that we would be looked after in this country, and that as veterans we would get priority treatment. And I'm not asking for more priority than anybody else, but that's what I was told I would get. And unfortunately it hasn't worked that way. I've waited since December 2020 when I first went to my GP for an operation that I still haven't had. That's how long we're waiting, and we'll get put off and told, you know, you'll see this consultant, you'll see that consultant, but you don't actually get what you need. So I'm here because I believe in the Labour Party, and I believe that change is the only way that veterans like myself is going to get the proper treatment that we deserve. And that's only when the Labour Party changes things in the health service for us, so we can all be proud to say this is our health service. So thank you very much. And on that note, the moment you've all been waiting for, I'm going to now promise, I'm looking over here making promises. I'm now going to hand over to Keir Starmer. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that welcome, Worcester. It's absolutely fantastic to be here. Thank you, Stephen, for sharing your story, because I think it's very important in this campaign that the country hears from the people who are being impacted by 14 years of failure. Rishi Sunak goes around in a helicopter. He doesn't see and understand what is happening and the impact of what his government has done to so many people's lives. So, Stephen, thank you for sharing that. And we share your pain on waiting and waiting and waiting for an operation that you deserve to have. And there are so many others who are in that same boat that we have in our mind's eye when we make our decisions. But it is so good to be here in Worcester. It is so good to be here with all of you, because at last we have a general election. And since that has been called, we have been campaigning positively for the change that we want to see across the country, because we've been waiting for a general election. The country has been waiting for a general election, and it is desperately, desperately needed. And so if you are a family that has been struggling with the cost of living, if you're a business that's been really up against it these past few years, whether you've served your country, then this is for you. Because what happens in a general election is the power goes to our voters. The power to determine the future of their own lives, their communities' lives, and of our country. The power to change our country for the better, and to draw a line and say no more of this chaos and division, a chance to turn the page, to change, and to rebuild our country with Labour. That is what this election is about. That is the choice on the ballot. And when I say draw a line on 14 years of chaos and division, it has been 14 long years of chaos and division and of failure. Too many prime ministers, too many chancellors, chopping and changing, impacting on people's lives. And that has a cost, a human cost. You heard from Stephen about the cost to him. There's cost all over the country. I went to Alderhay Hospital. This is a brilliant children's hospital up in Liverpool. It is the very, very best of our NHS staff. I went to the ward where they do operations on 0 to 2-year-old babies. This is extraordinary. Go in that ward and you can't be anything other than completely humbled by the bravery, actually, of the children that are being operated on, and the incredible skill of the team of surgeons that are doing very difficult heart surgery on tiny, tiny little human beings. And that is really uplifting. It's very humbling, But when I left Alderhay, I was really angry because I found out that more children aged 6 to 10 are being admitted to Alderhay to have their rotten teeth taken out than they are for any other operation. That is the price they are paying for the failure of this government. They're literally having their teeth taken out. And that should anger anybody who cares about our children, the next generation in this country. And of course, those brilliant staff having to spend their time using their skills to operate on something which was completely preventable. Another example is in Stafford. I was there on Saturday, actually in the kitchen, with a couple of paramedics, actually, and her wife, who worked in a jewellery shop. They got 2 children. They bought their house 5 years ago. I went there to have a cup of tea with them. Their mortgages just run out. They had a fixed rate mortgage for 5 years when they bought their house. They could afford that. It's now run out. They've spent a long time researching the best possible deal that they can get now, and it's hundreds of pounds more a month. Hundreds of pounds more. They don't know what to do. They can't afford it. They're going to have to move. That is the price that they are paying for the damage that the Tories have done to our economy, the real-life impact. These are small examples. There are so many other examples across the country of people paying a real price. And I tell you what, when Rishi Sunak says, we've turned a corner, it's all fine, you're all better off, he should go into that kitchen with the 2 people I was with on Saturday morning and say to them that they're better off, because they will give him a pretty blunt answer about the state of the country under him. And I grew up working class. I know what it's like not to be able to pay your bills. My dad worked in a factory, my mum was a nurse, and we couldn't always make ends meet. And what you do in those circumstances, you choose which utility you will lose. So we lost the phone. We decided we'd have the phone cut off because we couldn't afford the bill. That is the sort of decision that so many families across the country are having to take. So we have to have a Labour government to stop this chaos and division. We cannot have another 5 years of this. But here's the good news. You don't have to put up with it. You don't have to put up with it. You can vote for change. This is the chance. This is the change election. This is the election where we can turn the page and start to rebuild our country. It is desperately needed. And we have, with the Labour Party, we have changed it fundamentally so it's unrecognisable from the Labour Party of 5 years ago, and put the Labour Party back in the service of working people. That's been an incredibly important part of the work that we've been doing. What we ask for now, what we seek humbly, is the opportunity to do the same for our country, to put it back in the service of working people, and that we can take our country forward to a better future. And we were talking about that this morning with the NHS, an NHS which under the last Labour government had the highest levels of satisfaction ever on record and the lowest level in terms of waiting lists. That has been upended to the terrible position now where we've got record waiting lists, and for the staff, the demoralisation of knowing that satisfaction in the health service is at an all-time low. And for all the students we spoke to this morning, this is a devastating way for them to start their careers. So we have the chance to turn that page and to start to rebuild our country. And that is a huge ambition. It starts with our first steps that Wes referred to. You know, all ambition has to start with first steps. You've got to say, we want this change, which is going to make a massive difference in the NHS, not just back on its feet, but fit for the future. What are your first steps in relation to that? The first has to be a stable economy. And in 2024, it feels odd, but it's true, stability is change. We have to have a stable foundation for our economy. Because if you don't, if you lose control of the economy, it's working people who pay the price. Like that couple in Staffordshire. There are plenty of other examples impacted by the failure of the government to take control of the economy. We have to do what we need to do for the NHS. Those steps that Wes has been setting out this morning, 40,000 appointments each and every week. That's 2 million a year, paid for by getting rid of the non-dom status completely and effectively. people who are earning a lot of money and not paying their tax in this country. I think that's wrong. I think they should pay their tax here in this country. And people who are avoiding tax, they should be paying their tax and paying for the NHS to get back on its feet with 40,000 operations. And don't tell me this won't make a difference. Don't tell me, Stephen, that it won't make a difference for 40,000 appointments each and every week, because that will be impacting on the lives of so many people who desperately need it. Third step is to take back control of our borders. The government has lost control of our borders, and so we need a security border command that we will set up to smash the vile trade that is putting extremely vulnerable people into boats to go across the channel. Nobody but nobody should be making that journey, and we need to set up the command so that we can actually smash those gangs. And don't tell me it can't be done. Before I did this job, I was chief prosecutor. I worked with other countries to smash terrorist gangs, sophisticated terrorist gangs. I will never accept that the only gang you can't smash is apparently those that are putting people in small boats across the channel. We will also set up Great British Energy. Now look what's happened. Yeah. A publicly owned company, owned by the taxpayer, making money for the taxpayer and keeping bills low for a long, long way to go, and then cracking down on antisocial behaviour. Now, I can't tell you how many people have said to me, when I was prosecutor, since I've been a politician, it's low-level care, it doesn't make a difference. It makes a huge difference. It makes a huge difference. If people don't feel safe in their own street and in their own community, it has a massive impact on their lives. Sometimes it's not wanting to go out after dark, not wanting to open the door. Other times, in Stoke, I talked to some women, probably aged about 17 or 18, who felt that they didn't feel safe going down their own high street in broad daylight. That is the impact that it has. So 13,000 new neighbourhood officers to ensure that we can crack down and give people the lives that they need. And then the first step, is 6,500 new teachers in our state secondary schools. Now, Rishi Sunak keeps saying he wants maths to 18. What he hasn't clocked is that we don't have enough maths teachers to age 16 in our state secondary schools. That's appalling. That is absolutely appalling. That's not a one-year problem for a school if you're a child about to take your GCSEs. That's a lifelong problem because it's your education that's being impacted. And having been the first in my family to go to university, I know the power of education. And I want every child to believe that success is theirs and they can go as far as their talents take them, whatever their background. And so those teachers will be recruited, vitally needed, so we can actually build a Britain fit for our children. So that's the choice. More of this chaos and decline. We've had 14 years. Heaven knows what they'll do if they get another 5 years. Or move forward with Labour. Say no more chaos, no more division, turn the page, change, and build our country and take it forward with Labour. That's the choice. Vote Labour. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Stephen. That was great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Tom. You're right.
Want to get some of this mingling?